And welcome to the Bruce Channel. I'm Bruce. Come on in, grab yourself a cup of coffee, tea, something stronger if you like. It's been a busy week. All right, first off, last week's show had lots of things going on. It was busy. And there were a couple of things I either didn't get to or actually forgot. So first of those, several weeks ago I directed you to a funny website called Bad Lip Reading. And what they do is they take clips from a variety of sources, movies, TV. They rewrite the dialogue to kind of match the lips, but of course they make it up to come out as nonsense. It's funny. Now, I know it's really hard to match up dialogue like that. That takes a lot of work, and then they also have to find voice actors to at least reasonably well approximate the voices. So, I showed you footage then of the first Republican debate. Now, that was before the Democrats had their first debate, but I said, sure, they'll make one, and they did, and this is what I prepared to show you last week and point you toward it and remind you again that it exists. Just plain forgot.
Oh, and then they bring me this weird Firebird and set it up there, and I said, hey, you better give me it or I'll shove somebody. Hey, everyone, do you know him? No.
No, I
Nope,
do not.
not at all.
Yeah, okay.
Jimmy, I'm sure you'll make a friend someday.
Okay, on to the next question. Should I get a scooter?
Hey, the white boy thinks it's scooter time.
The ride's gonna be scary, Anderson, because it's freeing. And, I don't know where you're gonna be riding, mainly to the cleaners. Yeah, right. Oh.
So you can Google Bad Lip Reading and add the tag you want, Democratic debate, Republican debate, but if you just Google Bad Lip Reading, you will also see a variety of other subjects that they've spoofed. All right, speaking of the debates, the Republicans will have at it again this Tuesday. That's November 10th. This one is on the Fox Business Network. And as all of them have done thus far, they're splitting it, but again, splitting it stupidly. As I have said several times, I'm pleased I'm not the only one to be saying this. I've now read this elsewhere. They should just divide the number in half. That would be 7 each. And then draw the names from a hat to determine who's on which one. But no. Oh, and worse, they're using minimum polling factor, and that has done two things. It has dropped New Jersey Governor Chris Christie from the main debate into the so-called kiddie car, or the undercard. And the same goes for former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. I'm trying to imagine, I don't know how you go out and act like your campaign is really relevant if you've been knocked down like that. They'll do it, but that strikes me as difficult. Now, I have read more than one article that said that Governor Huckabee really isn't running for president, he's running for his next gig, and I think that's a little harsh. But it still has to be an even larger come down for Governor Christie, because 4 years ago, he could have had the Republican nomination just by saying yes. And now he's downgraded to the undercard. Oh, and in a worse downgrading, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and former New York Governor George Pataki, they were bumped from debating entirely. They're not even going to be on the undercard. I like what Governor Pataki had said in the debates, but he's largely failed to register at all. Senator Graham's ousting is a little bit of a surprise because many, and I include myself, thought he did the best of the four last time around. And the Democrats will be debating this week, too, at the end of the week, Saturday night. Now, as I have said before, I'm very displeased with the debate schedule that DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz assembled for the simple reason it seems designed to attract the fewest viewers, not the most. The first was during baseball playoffs. The next one is next Saturday night, football season. College football is coming into crunch time. The one after that is the last Saturday before Christmas. That's maybe the busiest shopping day of the year, all right, excepting Black Friday. And the one after that is during the NFL playoffs. Now, I don't know if Bernie Sanders or Martin O'Malley can or will or even should overtake Hillary as the front runner. But having fewer people see them has to make it harder. And as I've said before, this seems by design, it seems rather noxious. All right, another leftover. Last winter, I told you of a really cool trivia app for your mobile device, either iOS or Android. It's called QuizUp. A couple of quick updates. There is a newer version, and it's slick. It's very slick. The graphics are even better. There are more categories. Now, I've told people about it from time to time. I told a friend of mine, and she recommended one back called Trivia Crack. Well, I tried that. I got to tell you, They're not even in the same league. It's just, Quiz Up is sensational. One of the neatest things, you end up following people, either your friends or you've discovered some worthy opponents. When you choose a game, it looks to find someone from anywhere in the world who is in real time looking to play in the same category. But your friends, let's say I want to play you in U.S. history, and you're not on. Maybe it's 3 in the morning and you're asleep. I can send you the challenge, and then, even if you're not on, I can play without you. It records my answers and the time I needed to answer, and then when you decide to accept the challenge, if you do, it's as though we're playing in real time. Again, it's called Quiz Up, and it is terrific. All right, I know you're going to agree with me on this. We all do, and yet, helpless as lambs to slaughter. We do nothing about it except give a few voice complaints. I'm talking about Christmas arriving earlier and earlier each year. Walmart, the dark star of retailing, it couldn't wait to put up its Halloween displays until October. Yeah, mid-September, month and a half away. But what really burned me up, the Halloween decorations were out, and in the next aisle, Christmas decorations were out. This is absurd. You know, I'm not going to live to see it, but if this trend continues, if it gets backed up a few days every year, if you advance the Christmas decorations date every year, one day it will never end. That is the ultimate outcome of advancing it a little bit every year. Okay, I watched some football last Sunday, November 1st, and I wasn't pleased, but I think I took it as a measure of restraint that the holiday commercials on television were at least held until November 1st. Okay, speaking of football, this was another thing that was inadvertently left out from when I intended to use it. It is not earth-shattering. It's something you don't see very often either. In fact, I have never seen anything like it. So, on the Fox pregame show several weeks ago, the baseball playoffs were going on, and Fox, which was showing the baseball playoffs, brought in the Yankees' Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, as a promo. He was going to be doing the baseball coverage. So, he's in the studio for the football game. Turns out he not only played baseball, but in high school he played quarterback. So they kibitz back and forth a bit, and then they asked him if he could still throw a football. They had him throw it to Jay Glazer at the other end of the studio.
You told me you were going to draft me to the Cowboys. You lied. Nobody believe in you.
I could have won some more national championships with him at quarterback.
What's the first rule of recruiting? Lie.
No, I don't lie.
No, it's cash. Not where Jimmy was. No, don't say that. All right. Hey, we want to see if you still got the arm. You played quarterback in high school. That was a long time ago.
It's been over 20 years. I'll give it a shot.
We got Jay Glazer over on the other side. Can you hit him?
Nice.
Oh! Well, we know he's still got strength in the arm.
I said it wasn't earth-shattering, and that remains true. But there are, obviously, a variety of shatterings available. Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. For most of my adult life, I weighed a little over 100 pounds. Not much more than in this picture taken when I was about 17 and considering becoming a jockey. But as is often true, once I crossed into my 40s, extra weight came, and it stayed. For years, I tried to lose, instead gained, and ended up 153 pounds. And I'm embarrassed to show you this video. Then I learned that it isn't about calories and exercise, but instead it's about what you eat. You might say, sure, ice cream makes you fat. But there were surprises, things like orange juice not being such a wise choice if you're trying to lose weight. So I just made some basic changes to what I ate, not how much, and the weight just fell off. Now, nearly 3 years later, it is still off. And don't misunderstand, I'm eating foods I like, not bamboo shoots. Friends ask me how I did it so often, I put it in a book. It's available as an ebook for all platforms, and the print edition is available at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. Hey, you can shrink too. Welcome back. Remember, you can write to us at the Bruce Channel at yahoo.com. You can also watch all the previous shows at either our Facebook page or at tinyurl.com/Bruce Channel. Okay, I have spoken of this before, and I am again briefly because I am just so disgusted with the crying wolf. The campaign is nothing but wolf, wolf. And I'm speaking of self-proclaimed financial expert Mark Mike Larson, I told you about him in mid-April because he began predicting in December last year the U.S. would enter an economic Armageddon. He called it Bloody Wednesday. And it was going to occur in the middle of January this year. And then I told you about this in mid-April because when it didn't happen in January, he bumped the date to mid-April again, calling it Bloody Wednesday. Naturally, you could escape the financial doom, or I could have, or anyone could have, if we subscribed to his newsletter. So, after it didn't happen in April, he bumped it to mid-July and then to mid-September. It's every time the Federal Reserve Board holds their next meeting. I also pointed out that after the first one, his message changed just a wee little bit. He removed, "mark my words," and instead slipped in phrases like, "if I'm correct." Well, about 2 weeks ago, it wasn't an email, but a real snail mail booklet. There it is, Bloody Wednesday. This one's going to be December 16th. Now, I'm not going to waste hours of my life poring over every sentence word for word, but except for the date, this one appears to be exactly from last winter, including "mark my words," and the Fed will have no choice. I've seen this before, but it just bothers me. There's going to be any number of naive individuals who, not having seen this before, won't realize that he's simply rehashing old hash, and they'll be suckered in. Wolf! Wolf! You know, I worry about this country, likely so do you. We may not agree about that which is most worrisome, but that's because there's a veritable smorgasbord of worrisome topics. Bloody Wednesday, global warming, a collapsing middle class, terrorism, politicians who'd like to turn our republic into a theocracy, other politicians who'd rather become an oligarchy. But once in a while you can find some good news. Now, this isn't much, but you know, every little bit of good news helps, so here we go. Our story begins in that lovely state up north, a beautiful state really, with some of the richest landscapes to be found on this earth, Michigan. Yes, I'm a Buckeye, but that doesn't diminish Michigan's natural beauty. All right. In the Michigan legislature were two Republicans, very conservative family values, Todd Courser and very conservative Cindy Gamrot. Now, I really do not care that they had an affair. Affairs have been going on since long before religions condemned affairs. In fact, long before there was a word for affairs. And just as some Baptists do drink, some conservative religious people have sex, they don't like to talk about it. But see, if the conservative constituents learned of this, they might not like the hypocrisy. So, when it became apparent that the affair was likely to be exposed, Todd Courser came up with an absolutely brilliant plan. It's a bloody brilliant plan. He leaked the story to the press. Anonymously, certainly not from himself, but he leaked the story that he had a same-sex encounter with a male prostitute outside a nightclub. Well, that's a bad smear, right? But he leaked it himself. Why? So that he could disprove it, and then when the real affair came to light, he could call it another made-up attack. You can't make this stuff up, right? So it did come out, and the Michigan lawmakers were going to kick them both out of the legislature. Prior to being kicked out, Todd Courser resigned. And Cindy Gamrot was indeed voted out. This was in September. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this whole thing to you, this bizarre tale, is because it's not the end of the bizarre tale. No, both of them, disgraced or not, had the chutzpah to file for the primary election to elect their own replacements. Really? All right, so that was last Tuesday. Ms. Gamrot got 9% of the vote. Mr. Courser got less than 4%. So as worrisome as the future sometimes seems, there is hope after all. There remains some sanity in this world. We're not all insane. I'm sane. I'm saying I love you. Okay. All right, finally this. I had a near-death experience this past week. As I told you last week, I was looking forward to a part in a film we shot this week. I met some really great individuals, some very talented actors, some very strong crew. All of that is true. What's also true, I'm probably not going to add any of my footage to my demo reel. I've been told I was going to be a grandfatherly type and have a heart attack and maybe be out puttering in the garden. So I worked for several days to see how realistically I could fall. I practiced the death rattle. All for naught. First of all, it rained. Now, I'm true to my craft, and I wouldn't have minded falling into the wet grass, but that would have meant it would be impossible to go back and shoot it from a different angle because my clothes would already have been wet. All right. But the biggest reason wasn't that. Instead, we were making a training film for EMTs in Durham and surrounding areas, and the film presented different scenarios. Getting access to the house. Family members may not agree. Okay, maybe there's a DNR. This one says no. And how many minutes had the individual been down? 18 minutes? Well, that's too long. And upon getting in, getting a pulse or not getting a pulse. And each of those circumstances required a different response from the EMT being trained. So it turns out my big death scene simply meant not breathing and not blinking while being poked and prodded. As I say, it was great working with them. Hannah Brown was the EMT who variously saved and failed to save my life. And Lily Nelson and Mike Gutkowski played the brother and sister with different wishes as to allowing access to the house. I did offer a tease on Facebook the other day, and when I put the picture up, I tried to crop it so as to not reveal that it was from a movie set. So here's Hannah, as well as the sound and camera, heading for the front entrance, where await Mike and Lily. My thanks to everyone involved. I enjoyed the work, and I hope to work with them again. Oh, one last note. This could be filed under Disney. See, it really is a small world. Last week, I mentioned that the proof of concept trailer for Heterodox HDS was out. You can Google it and watch it. And I mentioned that there's some language concerns, if that's an issue. All right, last week I showed you a little bit of the trailer in my house. I'm the mayor. But if you didn't see the trailer, you might not know it is ripped from the headlines, White Cop Shoots Black Teen. For the record, I am not espousing a political belief, and neither did the actor who portrayed the policeman. I know that because I never worked with him on Heterodox. We were never on the set the same days. But that policeman was played by Mike Gutkowski, whom I just met and recognized working in Durham this week, and we talked about it. Oh, another small world. He's from Cleveland. Finally, this. It's November, right? Explain to me. Explain, Lucy. I took this picture this morning. It's November. And either very late or very early or it's living a double life, I have an azalea blooming. Go figure. Okay, I'm done. Except to say, I hope your upcoming week is the best one you've ever had.